Yo, guys, what's up, and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 141. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zaberwolf. We're going to be talking about the Kraven the Hunter trailer and any other nerdy news from the week. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and if you're listening to us on a replay, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think. Without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up, dude?
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
How are you?
Doing all right. Just been busy. How about you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah. How was your week?
It was pretty much a lot of work going on. Got into like some, other things. Like I haven't, I don't know about you, but I haven't gotten into mobile gaming in such a long time, and I've been on such like a Monster Hunter kicker that I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna pick up Monster Hunter now. I want to see how it is.
Yeah.
And instantly, I'm like, all right, how much am I going to spend on this? Because I really like it.
Yeah. I
It's
haven't done any mobile gaming in a long time myself, but I'm kind of ashamed to say that those like full page ads that come up on apps sometimes, like game
yeah.
ads. There was this one game called like Jesus, I need to check my phone. I don't even know what it's called. Hang on a second. But basically, I saw it was like kind of like one of those like Bejeweled type games. I think it's called
Mhm.
Royal Match is what it's called. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna give this a go because I used to love playing it on MSN when I was younger, like and stuff. Like you'd play against like one of your friends or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was like, fuck, I'll give it a go. And I'm on like nearly level 300 in the game. So
Oh, Jesus.
oh, dude, I'm like, and I'm ashamed to say I have spent a little bit of money on it as well.
Oh,
But
dude. Yeah.
it's highly addictive, and like to be fair, I've put like hours into it, kind of just sitting around. Especially, I spent like 16 hours in A&E like a couple of weeks ago, and it was just like one of those things where it kept me going. Like it was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Any like basically we don't have a lot to go through tonight. Kind of I'm going to just talk about a couple of bullet points that I have. Well, maybe we can watch the Kraven trailer, break it down, kind of review it, see what we think, and we'll go into other few bits of nerdy news. And then if you have anything to bring up or at the chat, anybody who's hanging out here, Andre, Sharky, welcome in, guys. Make sure to ping it into the chat, and we'll go through everything because I feel like it's going to be a bit of a kind of just chill chat, and we'll see where it goes. First of all, did you watch the Kraven trailer? Yeah.
I did.
What did you think?
I did. I think from the moment I saw it, I think that uh, they picked the wrong role for Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think
Okay.
I really would have liked to see him in a much different role. I'm not sure what, but he's such a great actor that giving him pretty much like a B movie role
Yeah.
is a bit of a slap in the face. I mean, um,
You
he's
regard him as a very good actor. Is
I
that what you're
think
saying? Why you're saying this?
yeah. Did you see him in Bullet Train?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
brilliant. I
he
think
was
we had this
fantastic.
conversation before. I
Yeah,
didn't know he was English until I saw him in this movie, and I was like, that English accent is far too good to be
right.
put on by an American. But I genuinely thought he was an American actor.
Yeah,
And again, this is like tip of the hat. I'm literally wearing a hat today. Tip of the hat to the actors who can actually film me and make me think they're from different countries. And
yeah.
Aaron Taylor Johnson, he was a prime example. I genuinely thought he was American for years, bro. So yeah.
Yeah. So like just seeing him from Kick-Ass, seeing him from like Bullet Train. I'm sure he's done a few other things, but those are the two main things that I recall him
He was in
from.
the MCU as well. He was Quicksilver for a movie.
Oh yeah, geez, that was like very brief, wasn't it?
It was a bit too quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't see his own death coming. I don't think to throw out the pun there. Well, yeah, he
See, and
did.
like
I think it was at the end of Age of Ultron. Was it? Sorry, no, not the end of Age of Ultron. It was at the end of. Was it at the end of Winter Soldier? Or so I can't remember. It was at the end of one of the movies where they put in an after credit scene where they introduced the twins. So we saw him for a second, but again, it was kind of hard to see that it was him. And then
right,
they obviously did Age of Ultron, and that was it. He died in Age of Ultron. He was one and done.
which
But
which is horrible, man. Like they didn't give him
yeah,
too much to work with, and like now they decide to put him as a villain,
yeah,
and it's like, what are you guys doing? Like this dude's actually a really good actor.
yeah.
Even like even thinking about it now, it's like Kraven. Like I could totally see him doing Kraven, but as a movie, like it just seems really off-putting. And so far they haven't really explained anything in regards to the movie itself. They just kind of put stuff out and then they do like the little things of like, you don't know what you're doing, kind of
Mm,
brooding, kind of sounding. And it's like, I don't care right now. Like, you're not really giving me too much to work with, and I don't really know. Like, I really don't know if Craven has his own line of comics. I mean, I'm assuming he does, and maybe they're pulling this from like a setting that they saw on like one of his series, and from that point on, it's like you know we're already deep in with Jared Leto and Morbius. Let's go ham and do like Kraven the Hunter. What are they going to do next? Are they going to do Black Cat? Are they going to do Silver Sable? Or are they going to do um you know
yeah. It feels like they're building a Sinister Six, and I think that was like maybe the plan originally, was that they were going to build a Sinister Six and then have a Spider-Man introduced, and then that Spider-Man goes up against that Sony verse, villain verse, or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
Which would be kind of cool. Like, I think that was kind of always my hope for where all this was going. Because again, yeah, it's all mediocre, it's all shit. But if they had a thing where, at the very end of one of these movies, like Venom 3 or something like that, or, this movie, if they had at the end of it, they introduced a Spider-Man and it was like Andrew Garfield, or it was a new Spider-Man altogether, like, it would be kind of cool to see where they could potentially go with it. Because if you think about it as well, you've got Morbius, you've got Venom, you've got um strangely enough, you've got the Vulture from the MCU is now over in the Sonyverse somehow, and he's chilling out with them. And you've
Is that
got like
is that
that
me
was
or
it.
is that him?
What? What happened?
Hold on. Are you? Oh, you were cutting out.
Oh shit, sorry. You're
Oh,
fine
you're
on my
still
end, so
cutting out. What is going on here?
I can hear you perfectly.
You can hear me perfectly?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh.
My
Guys,
internet's okay. My internet's okay
I
too.
can't well, I can't pull up YouTube, so I'm wondering what the heck. Okay, there's YouTube. Can I see?
All good on Sharky's end as well. I
That
think
was
maybe
weird. Maybe it
are
was
you back?
me.
You're back. You're back.
Was it me?
You were fine for me.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
I wish I had a soundboard right now. I'd put in that, that song, that doodly doo 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 doo, like that technical difficulty shit.
Oh yeah.
um,
Put the Verizon guy. Can you hear me now?
yeah. Guys, thanks for confirming it's okay on your end. Yeah, basically, sorry, what was I saying? So, yeah, you've got the likes of Morbius is in the Sony villain verse. You've got Vulture's there now from the MCU, which is weird. Michael Keaton's character, but it is what it is. Venom's there. Now we're gonna have Kraven. You could potentially put in Carnage. You could do like loads of mad shit and like create like a team of villains and then have a Spider-Man or two or all three. Like, could you imagine if they part of the stipulation of getting like Andrew and Toby into the MCU was that they would get Tom to come back to Sony and they would do like again another kind of Spider-Verse movie, but against the Sinister Six. So it's the three of them versus the Sinister Six. That to me is like that's the only thing that I think could make all this worth it. Like, could you imagine if at the end of all of these shit movies, if the three Peters are like introduced and it's like, here we go again, like No Way Home Part 2, but it's in Sony and it's against all these guys. Like, that'd be kind of cool. That's the only way that I could kind of see all of this shit working out. Keep dreaming. I know it's fanboy dreaming, but literally that's the only thing that I could see, like it all coming like to a like successful end,
Mhm.
because like if you think about if they had like a big giant epic fucking finale like that, you would want to go back and rewatch these movies and they might get cut a little bit of slack. The first 30 or 40 minutes of Morbius is actually quite good, and then they just lose the plot. They lose it altogether. Venom
Right.
1 is fine. Venom 2 is shit. Venom 3, I don't know. I'm going to see it, but I have no hopes for the movie. You know what I mean? This movie, to kind of go back to the Kraven movie, like the trailer is quite impressive. I've learned to not get too hyped up over these trailers anymore. I've been burned too many times, especially
Right.
with some of this like Sony stuff. and like some of the DC stuff as well. Like, you know, ever since the first Suicide Squad trailer, I've never looked at trailers the same again, because I remember watching the very first trailer for that movie, thinking that, oh my god, this is going to be one of the best movies ever made. It looked incredible. It was completely missold in the trailer to what we actually got in the end. And Morbius again was the same. You know, like a lot of the comic book stuff in the past couple of years, I feel like I've had this like kind of false foot put forward, and then we actually see the movie and it's like, oh Jesus, that was terrible, or oh, all the best bits of it were actually in the trailer itself, you know. So yeah, I don't know why they're doing this. I fully agree with you. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is an incredible actor. I only watched The Fall Guy last night. He was hilarious in it. And you know, like I would love to see him as a proper kind of character. If he wanted to play Kraven, like bring him in as Kraven in the MCU. Let there actually be some stakes to him being introduced into a universe. You know, you have him hunting a Spider-Man, you have him potentially going after a couple of other superheroes that he considers to be like, you know, top game. And you know what I mean? Like then let him actually sink into a universe. Whereas like this very well could be another failure, and it could just be another one and done. Like honestly, if I very highly doubt that we'll ever see Jared Leto step into that role again. I don't think we'll see Michael Keaton ever step into that role again, unless he comes back to the MCU somehow. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. I think a lot of these movies aren't going anywhere, and this movie I just think is probably going to be the same thing. You know, I think Venom had, in my opinion, didn't deserve the trilogy, but you know there have been a trilogy. Fair enough. The third one, again, the trailer looks quite good, but I just have no faith that the movie itself will actually be good.
Right. And it's mainly because they are trying to take some pages from the MCU side, especially for their heavy hitters. Like so when I see that Deadpool and Wolverine has done well, it's done well because it's Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's also, you know, a bit lighthearted at times. It has like its sentimental moments, but it also has like some good cameos that come in. They're very quick because of the way that, you know, the way that Hollywood works is essentially like the longer you keep these actors on the screen, the more money it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And you know, I get that. Like you really don't want to you know, charge too much for this movie, especially if you don't know if it's gonna do well or not. But you know, Ryan Reynolds had a strong inkling that it was going to do just fine, in which case it did. And you know, will we get something like that again? Probably not, unless we have the actors being very much into the plot of things and wanting to essentially promote this. And you see how much that Deadpool, like with Ryan Reynolds, like he loves that character so much that he wanted to promote it so well, and even like force, you know, the filmmakers or the industry to basically like create this character on the big screen and essentially do it right. And we haven't seen that in quite a while, since like I would say Henry Cavill with The Witcher. And even then, like there were a lot of times where he was in conflict with the writers and the directors, because you know, he would stop the scenes and he'd be like, this isn't really what would, you know, Geralt would say. Like you know, I don't see how we can kind of run this and make it sound any sort of way plausible. And you just don't see that anymore. And to be honest, like I think that like I would say like Disney, any sort of industry right now, like Disney, Sony, any filmmakers that are working on Marvel, they have their heads so far up their asses that they still don't smell their own shit. And they also think that everything that we want to see is based upon whether or not it's a AAA actor. And I really don't care. I really would like some nobodies. I really would like to kind of start the show as if it were the comic series. Like when you first see these comics, like when they first came out, I'm sure people were like, the fuck, who the fuck is
this
Spider-Man?
guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
who's Spider-Man? Who the
Yeah.
fuck is this gray thing? Is it Hulk? What? He was gray and then he turned green. There's a guy like an Asgardian, his name is Thor. Like it's these things that you come up with, but when you throw like a big title, like, you know, like Chris Hemsworth and Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. at the time was on a bit of a low. So like from him doing that kind of brought him up like super high. So then his value increased like dramatically. So that's kind of a hard one to sell. But like with Chris Hemsworth and such, I guess like they were on their way up. Chris Evans was a very good actor from the time being. I think he was doing like, I think once he got into the role of Captain America, it fit so well. But like ultimately, I would like to see like some new bloods. I want the new blood to be nobodies. I want
Yeah.
like I would have loved She-Hulk to be someone that we don't know at all.
I don't know who your one is. Who played She-Hulk anyway, so that was a new actress for me. I hadn't seen her in anything before, but I do understand what you're saying, and you are right, because all you have to do is look at the success of Phase 1. Like Hemsworth, as you say, he had the only big screen movie that he had done before that was the first Star Trek movie, the J.J. Abrams one, and he was only in 5 minutes at the start of the movie, so he was kind of an unknown to the big screen. I didn't know who he was, and like look at like Tom Hiddleston, look at all these actors like Tom Holland, even all these guys are, if you're like a hardcore fucking movie buff, you might know who Tom Holland is before he comes to the MCU, but fucking 90% of people didn't know who he was. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's I think that's where it actually does sell, because you fall in love with the character first, and then the actor becomes the superstar, and then you start referring to Spider-Man as Tom Holland. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas at the start, you're just like, holy shit, this kid has Peter Parker nailed down. Like, it's brilliant,
Right.
And even Chadwick Boseman, like I had heard of him, but didn't really know him from anything. So when he first showed up as T'Challa in like 2016, I was like, oh, this is fucking cool. You know what I mean? I didn't think of it as, oh, there's Chadwick Boseman, and now he's in the MCU. Whereas by the time you get to his own movie, by the time you get to Infinity War, Endgame, it's just like, oh, Chadwick Boseman's here, like, and then obviously Endgame was so sad because he was gone. But like, yeah, it was just, I think the fame just takes over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like rightly so. I mean, you really want to kind of like bump up your reputation as you go along, and Aaron, I like that's why I say like I think Aaron Taylor Johnson deserves a little bit better of a role. I know that he was Pietro for a bit, and I think that they could have like expanded upon that. They could have kept him around. I don't know why they decided to kill him off, other than just put it into the story that he gets killed off. But as you can see, like a lot of the times, when you see a character die within like a series or in a comic series, it's like, well, that fucking sucked. But if you bring them back, it's like, well, cool. I'm glad. Like, that's great that they're back. But if you do it multiple times, of course, that ruins it. But the point of them getting across is that you can't do that in film, because a lot of the times they just keep them dead. So like, for all we know, Thanos is probably just dead. Like, he's just gone. We're probably never going to get him again, which I think is very sad. We haven't seen a villain actually come back in quite a while.
Yeah.
And the only time they would come back is if you basically shut them out, and then they're basically brooding. And so that was the whole point with Kang. There's so many different variants of him that you could just do whatever you want. And then so because of what happened with Jonathan Majors, basically it went to shit. So like now they have to pull out basically in case of emergency and break glass, which I think is the most annoying thing that you can do, because I like, as much as I love Doom, you guys aren't setting him up to be the real big bad. It's just kind of like, we need to put someone on there just as big or like even bigger to kind of overshadow the fact that like we lost Kang. Which I think it should have just been a recast. I don't understand why we couldn't just keep going and just like put that aside and say to ourselves, like, you know what, that Kang was a variant. We didn't care about him. That wasn't the true evil. We're gonna move on. We could pull out something else, but now that they essentially set themselves on fire when
I have
they had the Coliseum.
I have a bit of juicy goss on this.
Right.
Don't let me move on. Go on, keep going.
Gotcha. Okay. So they literally, like I said, they set themselves on fire because they literally put a Coliseum full of all the Kangs that had all Jonathan Majors' face on it. So they had no way of redoing any sort of facial changes. They couldn't change anything because now it's just set in stone.
Yeah.
That Jonathan Majors' face is on the face of every single Kang, which is like, are you guys idiots? Like, just don't do that. That is what really pisses me off about multiverse shit, is when you decide to make like a multitude of different faces, or no, a multitude of the same face. Whereas like that's why it worked in No Way Home, because you had different Peters. They all
Yeah.
looked different. They were from different universes. They were all able to congregate, and it's not this like the shit show of like, oh, there's Tom from that, Tom from that, and there's Tom from that, or oh, there's like three Tobys. It's like it's easier to work on that. And
Yeah.
like it's just like it's infuriating to think that they were trying to like shoehorn everything Jonathan Majors. That is where they fucked up. They can't do that, dude. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous.
So I read, and I can't remember where I read this, but somebody claimed to be close to Jonathan Majors and said that in his contract, he had a stipulation that he was the only person that could portray Kang. And that's why they've had to change it up and they couldn't recast. And it actually makes sense when you think about it, because again, we have the giant coliseum full of Kangs. They're all Jonathan Majors, as you said. Even the alien ones are Jonathan Majors in makeup, or CGI Jonathan Majors. And now the fact that he's gone and they fired him, I think there's a stipulation that stands in his contract that they can't recast or use a different Kang. Because if you think about it, every other variant that we've seen, and now Doom confirmed as well, they're all different actors, or different variations of the same character, but with different actors. We've seen now 3 or 4 different Reed Richards in the multiverse. We've seen different Spider-Man all over the place. You know what I mean? And now, like, we've even technically now seen different Wolverines, and Deadpool's out the fucking wazoo and everything. So, you know, there's they're not afraid of using different actors, but now they've kind of, obviously, the way that they've done this contract for him, they've thought, oh yeah, we're going to have Jonathan Majors for years and we can just do as many variants as we want. But I don't know if it was him that put that stipulation in the contract, or if it was Disney that put, I can't imagine it was Disney or Marvel that put it in there. But if he was the one who put it in there, it's actually quite clever on his part, because now he's fucked up their entire plan, so they have to change everything. So
Yeah, and
it's kind of
it
crazy.
fucks up. Well, and then it fucks up our plans as well, as to enjoy the damn thing.
I wasn't really too crazy on the whole Kang story anyway. I didn't mind him in Loki. I thought he was kind of interesting. I wasn't too crazy on a few of the different variants that he played in season 2. I was kind of like a bit meh on it. And then when we got to like Ant-Man Quantumania, I was just kind of like, I wish it was better. And I don't think that's Jonathan Major's fault as an actor, but I just think the character just wasn't done justice properly. So like by the time it got to like, okay, next is Kang Dynasty, an entire fucking Avengers movie with this guy at the helm, I was scared. Like I just wasn't, my faith wasn't in it at all. And now it's like, we're getting Robert Downey Jr. back with the Russos and McFeely writing. I'm just like, it seems like the stars are aligning. Like, I really do. I really think so.
Are they Pinto? Really?
Well,
Like
I do think so.
It's the exact same situation, dude. You're gonna have the exact same bowl of soup that you just had with Kang. Like it's the exact same shit, but we're gonna have it even less. You're gonna have even less cereal in your bowl,
bro. Like I think we're like, it's all leading to Secret Wars.
It's
And
all leading to one villain.
Yeah, but
and
that's the way it should be, though, right? Like, because if they're going off the comic books, if they're going off and we always talk about them, like how they should stick more to the material. Like if you're going off the source material, Secret Wars is Doom. Doom is the one who creates fucking Battle World. Doom is the one who tries to save the multiverse by creating Battle World to become the leader. Like he does it for bad reasons, but it is him who does it. So yeah, I suppose the MCU is fine, like going in the direction of actually using Doom, which is what is written. So I kind of, yeah, I don't know. I'm still a little skeptical, of course. You know what I mean? Like I think after Phase 4 and 5, any sane person would be a little skeptical. Obviously, yes, we've had Deadpool and Wolverine. It's kind of reignited the flame into the MCU, but we definitely need to see more projects before I can fully say we're back. You know what I mean? Like all these memes online of, we're dead, we're back, we're dead, we're back, we're dead, we're back, with like every shit. It's like I feel like it's like I'm watching The Walking Dead again, and it's like bad episode, good episode, bad episode, good episode. Like, I feel like it's like bad movie, good, bad, good, and like I just want to get back in this to a stage where we have a couple of good projects in a row that are just bangers, and I feel like, yes, we're back, we're alive. Deadpool and Wolverine, fantastic start, but what's the next project? Agatha. So it's like, oh dear, we're back in fucking the red zone, bro. Like I'm scared again. You know what I mean? Like this show is going to be terrible, and this is following Deadpool and Wolverine. After that, we have, if I'm not mistaken, it's Captain America 4. That's 50-50 for me. That could be amazing. That could be terrible. I really don't know. Again, the trailers looked great. I love Harrison Ford. Red Hulk looks cool. He kind of looks like the old Hulk. On paper, it's ticking boxes, but is the movie going to be good? I don't know. They've rewritten it a few times. They've pumped like an extra 200 million into it to shoot loads of extra shit. Like they brought in Giancarlo Esposito like in the last couple of weeks of production and completely changed the story. Like, is that good? I don't think so. Hopefully, it's changes for the better and it saves the movie in the long run. But having to do that is a red flag. You know what I mean? Like if you have a movie almost complete, you've pumped in 200 million and you have to go back to the board and say, give us another 150 million. We need to hire a new actor. We're shooting loads of new shit and we're going to rearrange the whole script and story. Would you be happy if you were giving over the money, if you were signing that check? I'd be like, guys, you better know what the fuck you're doing here. So right. I'm scared. You know what I mean? Like that's not a good place to be. So yeah, look, the foundations are rocky. And we need to kind of get a couple of good projects behind us before we can actually say, yeah, we're back. But I really hope we get into get to a point where we get into Doomsday, and as a whole fandom, we are feeling all good. Fingers crossed. That's the hope, anyway.
Yeah. Well, the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, it's just gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse. Like
no, bro. Daredevil is gonna save the world.
We'll see. It's possible, but we'll see. I think what they're trying to do is like push it as quickly as possible, and I think that's the wrong way to do it. I think the reason why we have so much from some people say call it superhero fatigue. It's just movie fatigue, dude. Like it's literally just too many movies that are coming out that are remakes, reboots, and reworks of things that were originally done to have like a certain storyline. So like when you change so much things, or when you redo everything, it's like you're not giving us exactly anything new. We have nothing to chew on for a while to kind of like enjoy some of the other things that we would like to enjoy on a I would say like a weekly basis, like for movies, for not just for movies, but like for shows. Like why is it that they want to sit so many people down in movies when we could create series, when we could have like shows that could essentially like pull things into a different direction and kind of lead up into a movie, which I think would be the best case. Like we haven't seen a Daredevil movie in a long time, and I think we're long overdue for one. It's like it's one of those things where like you could have essentially done a Daredevil movie with like Spiderman and the Punisher, and like made it fucking cool. Maybe it's like the mob bosses in Hell's Kitchen are going nuts, and Kingpin is behind all of it because he's been endorsing them, and like essentially that's where the Punisher comes in because he wants to fight, like he wants to make sure to take down all the mobs because of what happened to his family in the past. Spider-Man joins in because he's part of Queens, and it's starting to affect Queens a little bit because it's starting to bleed out. Then you have Daredevil, like from Hell's Kitchen, essentially helming the battle. And there you go. Like you just have this whole like congregation. They're split up in these different areas of it's mostly New York, right? It's not like bleeding out into other. Yeah. So like you have them in New York from these different sections. They hit each other for a second, be like, first time meeting, being like, who the hell are you? And it's like, no, like, Spider-Man's like, no, I've heard of you. You're Daredevil or you're Punisher. Like I read about you guys all the like, cause that's how Spider-Man is. Like you have these things where it's like they congregate for a second and then they're split up again because they still have to take down different areas. And then they realize like, oh, we need to work together to bring down each section and then work our way towards Kingpin. Like I've been thinking about something like that as a plot for so long. Because it's so fucking cool. Like it'd be so nice to have something like that. You have the means. Like you don't have to make a show for Spider-Man or the Punisher because you've seen them in the past. Like, and Spider-Man's more of a movie, so like that's why you would put him into a movie.
Yeah, I don't think Spider-Man will ever be a show.
He'll be an animated show. He'll be.
No, of course. I don't think we're going to see Tom Holland ever appear on a TV show.
And that's fine.
He's a movie star. Like, you know what I mean? I just don't see that happening. Same with like Chris Evans and stuff. I don't really see him showing up in a Disney Plus series. You know what I mean?
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Don't like you have to stop thinking that it's the actors that are a part of it need to be the character. The whole
Yeah.
point of being in the costume and being a hero is that anybody could wear it. Anybody
True.
could be it. So
True.
like just have all these different have different actors that are up and coming who want to try their best to be a part of this world itself. Have at it, like give them that chance. Let them be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Let them be the Captain America saving the world day by day. Hydra's at it again. Like we're like, give us some animations, man. Like I miss that shit. It's like it's so good when you see like Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I started watching that, and like from the get-go I was already taken in. It was like so fun. It's not the same actors, it's all different voices, so you get this kind of like this new feeling like, oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Like I kind of like, you're like, I kind of like this. And then that creates like debates and stuff. It's like, well, I mean, I really like the Iron Man from the show, the animated show, but the movie was kind of good too. Like I like how RDJ's doing this, but this voice actor kind of really hit it on, like, in terms of the comics. And, it's all these things, like you kind of get people talking, and then it just kind of gets exciting again. When you give us so much movies and like very little live action shows that we give a shit about, it turns into this where it's like, we're dead, we're alive, we're dead, we're alive, we're dead. And so right now with Deadpool, we're alive apparently. And
For
so
now. For now.
yeah, right. So like when Agatha comes around, you're gonna be like, we're dead. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, Finto, we're not skipping that shit.
No,
Because
no, no.
we
I will 100% watch it. I'm going to watch everything.
okay. Okay.
Fact. 100%.
And
And like even, and I know this sounds terrible, but I enjoy coming on here and talking shit about stuff sometimes. You know what I mean? It's fun. When they fuck up and when they make mistakes, it's fun to laugh at them. But obviously, I prefer when the MCU is doing good and we could just like hardcore fanboy on shit. Like, of course, that's where I want to be. But the stuff's
I
bad too. It creates fun conversations.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, I'd rather like, I'm glad that there's still a multitude. I like,
Yeah,
as much as I don't like certain shows and whatnot, I think that it fits better that we have these kind of moments.
yeah.
But to have like the full population essentially go She-Hulk terrible, and then very few of them be like She-Hulk kind of good, but then we tell them to shut up. it's it's that's bad. Like you need to be
Yeah,
able to have like the kind of the conflict. It's like, oh, I kind of liked it, I kind of like that they did this and that. But
yeah.
I think even the people that are trying to sugarcoat it are like having a hard time, defending it. And
There's only so much sugar, bro.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You're gonna run out. Fact.
right.
For anyone who might be listening to this, I'm just going to read out this comment that Marvel Maniac put in. So he says, Daredevil's better as a show. Spider-Man will be better as a show too. I'd love to see Spidey fight a new villain every week. Like, honestly, yes, of course. Like, and even in live action, I think might be a tough ask for something like that, just because, Spider-Man is such a, he's like probably the number one character and they want to save him for the box office and all this sort of stuff. I understand that from a like business point of view, but the 1994 Spider-Man series is my Bible. It's what made me a little comic book nerd when I was a kid, and I loved all 5 seasons of it. Every single episode, I could watch it from start to finish. I could throw it on now and watch it from start to finish. You know what I mean? Like, not a problem. The show is incredible, and I would love to see that, absolutely. And the Daredevil Netflix show is, and I don't care what anybody says, I'll fight any man who says any otherwise, but this show is the greatest comic book show to date, and I don't think it's ever going to be beaten. It is perfection. The Daredevil Netflix show is a 10 out of 10 for me, like, honestly, and I've watched it like 4 times, and each time I watch it, it gets better. I appreciate Charlie Cox acting so much more. Bernthal as the Punisher is just absolutely gripping, like everything. Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, I feel sorry for her, like, because when I say this, but she's a very annoying person. The girl who plays Karen Page, Deborah Ann Wall. I was only listening to her on, she was on Bernthal's podcast during the week, and she's had a very hard upbringing and stuff like that. Like, and I feel sorry for the actress, but she's a very annoying actress. But even in this show, it works. She's a great actress. You know what I mean? It all fits so well together. D'Onofrio as Kingpin, it is the greatest fucking shit ever. Like, honestly, it's amazing. Do we think that Disney is going to ruin Daredevil? So one of the points I always jot down notes of what I kind of try to keep on the tracks of these conversations, and one of the bullet points that I had here was something I saw during the week, that they're saying that Daredevil is the Marvel version of Daredevil on Disney Plus is going to be more violent than the Netflix show. And I'm like, more violent? I was like, like, is that possible? And if it is possible, are they only doing that to maybe deflect from the fact that the show might not be as good story wise and script wise and everything? If it's just not quite as good as the Daredevil, as the Netflix version, but they're like, we're going to make it gruesome, and he's going to be kicking the fuck out of people, and maybe they're going to hope that all the blood that's coming in is just going to make people like it a bit more. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like that's what they did with Echo as well. They're just like, this is the first show that's rated M for mature. And like everyone was like, oh shit, this is going to be violent. Like, I'm definitely going to watch this. And then I think we saw blood once in a fight or something. It was just the M rating was just to try and get people in, and it just didn't work, So I kind of hope that they've got a good script and everything. But I kind of think when I read something like that they're making the show more violent than the Netflix version, I'm kind of thinking, are they trying to do that as a selling point? I don't know. I'm scared, but I have faith that this show is going to work. The fact that we haven't seen an episode of it, we're not going to see an episode of it until next March, and the second season starts production, I think, in the coming weeks. Like, so that's a bit of a sigh of relief for me, because I know if they were in any way shaky on it, there's no way they'd start rolling cameras on season 2. They wouldn't. They'd have to wait and see, okay, are people going to take it in? Are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to like it? Is it a success? Yeah, let's go with season 2. They know already that it's going to be good. So they're like, we're making season 2 before season 2 will be finished before season 1 even comes out, which again is great as well, because we're probably going to have 2 seasons of Daredevil before Doomsday.
Yeah. Jesus, man. I really hope that this goes well. Then they'll see that, things work better if you actually give the characters exactly what they're intended to do, especially from when we see them in the comics. Like, if they're like, Marvel isn't really like the golden age of Marvel, and even the golden age of DC, there was no blood. There was nothing. It was literally like, that man's stealing a TV, stop him. And then you see Superman drop down and he's like, halts, and that's it.
Yeah.
Silver Age is all like the blood and shit. Like, and then you have the Dark Ages, which is kind of what we're in, where it's like, we really don't know what entails for the future of Marvel, and also for DC. Like, they're pulling back too much because they want to appeal to the kids. And they're not, and when they do too much, it may be something that even the adults are like, I just didn't care for it. Yeah. And I think they need to find that sweet middle, where they, not even that, I would say, fuck that, no sweet middle. Give us movies that are just like crazy, just messed up, crazy, bloody, graphic and whatnot, because that's for us. Like, that's for the
people. Getting that. I think we're going to get all this. This is coming, bro.
Maybe.
I think so.
Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath.
Like, the Blade movie, I know, is probably a hot topic to bring up, because I really think that the movie is going to probably quietly get shelved at this stage, because it just doesn't seem to be happening. You know what I mean? There's been like 5 rewrites, 4 directors have dropped out. It's just been pushed and pushed and pushed. He was first brought out on stage in 2019, bro. Like, it's insane. And the movie still they haven't shot a frame of it yet. But I did read something during the week that they say that when they finish Blade, they're going to do a back-to-back production, and it's going to go straight into a Midnight Suns movie. And it's going to be rated R. They've confirmed that it will be rated R after the success of Deadpool and Wolverine. So we're getting rated R Blade, blood everywhere, violence everywhere, sword chopping heads off. It's going to be great. The Blade that we should absolutely get. I would have been pissed if it was anything else. And then it's going to go straight into Midnight Suns, rumored cast, Moon Knight back, Doctor Strange, loads of cool people, like, you know what I mean? Scarlet Witch, like the whole shebang, like, which I think would be fantastic. And then if that's like rated R as well, and it's dark and it's under the whole kind of Marvel mature umbrella, And then like, who else sits in that world? Daredevil, Punisher, all these sort of people. You have a kind of dark street level magic supernatural side of the MCU. Fuck yeah, dude, sign me up. I'm all in.
Do you want to know about the leaders, like who the leaders are for Midnight Suns?
Go for it. Yeah.
So it's Blade,
Yeah.
Johnny Blaze,
Love it.
Danny Ketch, which is another Ghost Rider.
Nice.
And Morbius, which
okay.
absolutely makes sense.
I don't see him coming in, but yeah, it's
which is sad, dude, because I know. Because Morbius, although like they did him dirty, I wouldn't give a fuck if like they brought Jared Leto back. I think they just had a terrible fucking movie. They didn't like, and Jared Leto like kind of sucks, but at the least we had a Morbius. And it's just like, and I hate to say that. I hate that. At least we had that character. And it's like, because that's exactly what I'm going to say when Kraven comes around. At least we had Kraven. Like, it's gonna be horrifying. But like, imagine like Blade, Johnny Blaze, like, Ghost Rider, Morbius. Those are the leaders, and you have Blade, you have Wolverine, you have any like you have Iron Fist, you can take Man-Thing, Moon Knight, Scarlet Spider, Scarlet Witch, like Werewolf by Night. There's a dude named Dr. Voodoo. I want to know who the fuck is Dr. I want to know who that is. Like, I would love to like hear about all these different characters, and they're never going to show them because they're like random characters that nobody's ever heard of before.
Though I think the problem that's happening with Sony, especially, again, I read this during the week, but apparently any of the villains that Sony use, Marvel can't, because Sony kind of locks them. And I think obviously, like, if you think about it, it seems to add up, because again, we have Kraven, we have Venom, we have all these people. It's like these great super Spider-Man villains aren't showing up in the MCU as characters for Peter to fight, like Tom Holland's Peter to fight. And if you do a Midnight Suns now, it's realistic that you're not going to get Morbius in there because he's locked by Sony, but basically it's just
did you get distracted?
Sorry, I just read your
well, because like I'm trying, like I was okay. I put the
I was just like, I see this pop up on my screen and I'm just like, what's he trying to say?
Exactly. I'm talking in the chats and from here.
But basically I think that Sony are really kind of shoehorning where a lot of these stories are going to go, because they're using these characters. And I think it's hurting the MCU in the long run, because there are some incredible characters. Kraven, number one, like on this list, like for this conversation anyway. Could you imagine if you had Kraven done properly in the MCU, as we said earlier on in the conversation, it could lead to better team ups in the future, like Kraven and Punisher. Like, you imagine the two of them like hunting down like vampires with Blade or something like that. Could be just wild, Yeah, like, so I just think that because Sony are doing all this, I think it's blocking future projects from potentially happening, which sucks.
Yeah, because they I don't know what it is behind the scenes, and I don't know if maybe it's because they don't have the rights to certain stories, and which to me is like fucking, like, that's bananas. Like, how do you not have the rights to the story? Why can't you just do like word for word? Like, honestly, when we saw The Last of Us, TV show, it wasn't like verbatim, it wasn't like 1-to-1, but it was damn near close, and it was fucking good. Like, and we got to see some extra shit that like, ended up as canon.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
This is just again more of the kind of repercussions of Marvel having to sell off properties back in the day to stay alive. They sold Spider-Man to Sony, and now Sony have said Spider-Man's one of the biggest superheroes of all time. We're not going to sell him back to you. He makes us too much money. Like, even I would say just Spider-Man merch itself going to Sony, I'd say is fucking nuts. And all the residuals off the existing movies, like with Toby and Andrew and Tom, like, you know what I mean? It's insane. Obviously, they work with the MCU. Like, we get Spider-Man in the MCU, but it feels like it's capped or something. Like, it doesn't feel like it's free form, like, if that makes sense. It really feels like it's the stories are capped in a way. You know, the fact that we just can't like we're three, are we three, four, five or six appearances with Tom Holland as Spider-Man in the MCU, and we haven't seen like Venom yet. We haven't seen like an actual Doc Ock in the MCU. We haven't seen any of like the classic Spider-Man villains. We saw Vulture, but the only reason that we saw Vulture was because he had never appeared in one of the Sony films before. Think
Right.
about it. Like, it's right. It's correct. Like, that's the only reason why we got Vulture, and the only reason why we got Mysterio as well, because they never used Mysterio in Sony. You know, and then we get to the big team up movie where it's a collaboration between the two, and they're obviously both making fucking billions. It's great, fair play to them. But then that's when they bring back everybody. But again, it was a nostalgia ride. It wasn't really the characters being introduced. It was just, let's bring back the old actors, and it's kind of, let's tip the hat to the last 20 years, which again,
Mhm.
I'm not dissing it at all. It was fantastic. I was fucking in my element watching that shit. Like, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite comic book movies. Like, I love No Way Home, but I just feel like, you know, it was, if it feels a bit cheap now looking back, where it's just like, you know, is that the only is that how we get the Green Goblin? Is that the only way we get the Green Goblin? If we can get Willem Dafoe back, you know what I mean? It's like, can we just release these characters to Marvel, please, and just let us do it all properly? Like Spider-Man 4, it's like been heavily rumored for a while that there's two versions of the movie kind of floating around. There's a street level movie, which is very much like what you were wishing for when you were talking about what you would want for Spider-Man, and, you know, Daredevil being involved, and Punisher, and the whole territory of New York, and Kingpin coming in as the mayor. Like, they are introducing some elements of it slowly. Like, Kingpin is going to become mayor. We know this. In the Daredevil show, he will be mayor. What was meant to happen was, after Daredevil, that was meant to lead into Spider-Man 4. Daredevil was going to be in Spider-Man 4. They were going to be very much street level, trying to take down Kingpin. And then maybe, you know, Daredevil becomes an Avenger for Doomsday or something like that. I think that was originally what was going to happen. But now Sony again have stepped in. Guys, we need to do something else with the three Spider-Men. Like, we got to bring Toby and Andrew back again. We got to do Spider-Man 4 in the multiverse. And it's kind of like, I'm down either way, but I kind of want to see the street level stuff more. You know, I would love it to start tying, because again, like, if you think back to when Disney Plus first launched, like, we were doing this podcast back when it first launched, and we like, do you remember the excitement when it first happened, and just like the hope of what it could be, and just like, we were just like, oh my god, like, you know, we're going to get like a series with Moon Knight, and then he's going to show up in movies, and then, you know, we're going to get like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's going to be like a cool series, but like, you know, it's going to be like MCU level TV. It's going to be the most amazing thing ever. And then it just wasn't. But I feel like now they have the opportunity, now that they've kind of potentially course corrected. They really do have the opportunity, if they do Daredevil well, that they could put a few of these characters into upcoming movies. Like, Armor Wars is going to be a movie now. Why not put the Punisher in it? Why not put Daredevil in Spider-Man 4? Then you've got some of the TV guys coming up into the big screen, and then you've got them going back down into TV again, and then you got them coming back up into the big screen. And it is the MCU. It's all one big universe, and it's working on the small screen and the big screen simultaneously.
Can I ask why you want Punisher in Armor Wars?
I just think it would be a potentially cool place for him to show up. I think I'd heard a rumor about it a while ago, that he was rumored to be involved when it was a TV show. And like, I think, is there a comic run where he gets some Stark tech?
Yes.
So that would be
And
fucking cool to see. Could you imagine Berthold throwing on some fucking Stark tech? And
it
like,
is
going around punishing? Oh, bro.
it is literally like the War Machine, but way cooler looking.
Exactly.
Way cooler looking.
Yes, bro. Could you imagine? Like, because again, I think people who listen to this podcast a lot know that I'm not really a massive Rhodey fan anyway. But could you imagine, like, if something like that happens, where in the interim to get to there, I can't remember when Armor Wars is coming out. I think it's 2026. But between now and 2026, we have Punisher coming back in Daredevil 1, probably Daredevil 2. Then maybe he fucking snaps and goes off the rails. And then at the end of Daredevil season 2, Frank has gone mad and he's just disappeared into the MCU or something, and people are like, where the fuck is he gone, or whatever. And then imagine he shows up in Armor Wars and gets his hands on some Stark tech and just goes fucking bananas. That'd be so cool, bro. Like, you know, because we know he's capable of doing this shit. You know what I mean? Like we saw the prison scene of him in season 2 of Daredevil. Like, with a fucking shiv, he can kill a room full of people. Like, could you imagine what he'd be like with Stark Tech?
Mm.
Bananas. I think that'd be fucking sick.
Yeah, it depends on like what they decide to do. I haven't really read anything on Armor Wars whatsoever, so I'm not exactly sure like what that story entails, and it, and even then, like having Rhodey do it when it's actually supposed to be like Stark,
Mm.
it's kind of weird. It's kind of like it's just like it doesn't hit well, and like I hate being that guy that's always like reaching this point of like I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it, but it's just like you guys keep writing yourself into a corner. Like what do you expect me to do when I
Yeah.
know at least a little bit of what goes on? At least if I know the premise of a story and you're going to do that story and it's on a completely different level, that it just it just irks me. And it mainly irks me because they don't take it as a different universe. They literally want to place this in Earth 616, which is like so bothersome. Like you could do your own universe, and I say that a lot, but it's just like if it would be so much easier if they had established this as its own universe and left the comic series alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
just just say that it's not part of anything in terms of the comics. It's their own run, because that's kind of what the Ultimates was. That's what Ultimates 2 is. That's what like all these different things are. It's just these different settings, different universes, and for some reason they think that I like I could care less about it being in 616. I care more about it being its own thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, they already lost my vote essentially.
So what would you think if, and again, I'm going to bring up after the events after Secret Wars, we're going to have like a bit of a soft reboot and a new universe forms. Like, would you be happy if they officially like called it Ultimates and like they went down the road of Ultimates and then the MCU was now the Ultimates universe?
No.
So you're never going to be happy then.
No. The only way I'll be happy is if they literally call it Ultimate MCU and not have it touch Ultimates.
Yeah.
Like it should have just been the MCU universe, or the MC universe. And then it should have been Ultimate MCU. But even then, the whole idea about Secret Wars is the incursion between Earth 616 and Earth 1610, between the standard and the Ultimates universe, which
Yeah.
then forms Battle World from the incursion.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like, do you see what I'm saying? Like it's essentially that these two different worlds that were based upon comics, or that were in the comics, it essentially works because they were comics that attacked each other, that created the incursion. Then they have Secret Wars, and then they have like Battle World and all that kind of shit. We could do the same thing, but like just be a different universe. You can number it differently. That's what they did with Deadpool and Wolverine. That's why I liked it. It's because they like, even though they kind of stuck Deadpool within the same universe as you know as Logan.
Yeah.
But even then, like, is that Logan also, like, is that a different universe compared to the one that had the Deadpool that was like had his mouth shut?
No, technically it's the same universe.
Then
But the
they
timeline changed because
so
Days of Future Past. Again, the whole Fox universe like confuses me, but I
right.
think it does make sense when it's broken down properly. Where at the events of Days of Future Past change the timeline, especially for Logan. So Logan himself gets the adamantium from a less trained striker, and that's how he ends up dying. Like he gets the adamantium sickness, and that's how he ends up dying. But if he had never gone back and changed the events of that show, Logan probably wouldn't have happened because he would have still been healthy and alive. So there's like versions of him out in the multiverse that wouldn't die from the old age like that. But then obviously there's different versions of them out there that still do, like Old Man Logan and stuff like that, which is obviously a different universe again because we saw that in the movie. But yeah, the whole Wade thing is confusing because Deadpool and Wolverine confirms that like Deadpool's universe 10,005 is actually the Fox universe. So, and like he is in Wade's past, obviously. Like Wade is in Logan's past, like the Days of Future Past stuff, which was that set in the 50s or 60s or something, if I'm not mistaken. Most of that movie was set in like the 50s or 70s,
Jesus,
maybe.
because it
I
was
can't even.
well,
It was
it
definitely in
was
the past.
it was after the Cuban Missile Crisis, right?
Yes, yeah. Because again, you have the scene at the start where they're going through all the wars, and then I'm pretty sure it lands in like the 60s where he's doing all the stealth missions with Stryker's team and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's happening in like the 60s,
Hmm.
and then he gets the adamantium, and then obviously the events of the movie happen. But there's a Wade there in the 60s,
Which is fine. Because if events change and it's a different Stryker, like a younger Stryker, then yeah, it would create a different Deadpool.
yeah.
So then that works. Then I'm okay with that. It's only when it's like if that other Deadpool still existed, then that'd be really weird.
Well, the after credit scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine, you see the Deadpool, like the Wade, like the X, what did they call him? X11 or X to Weapon
Probably
11 or something.
probably Weapon 11, yeah.
Yeah. So you see Weapon 11 wake up at the end of that movie, and his hand is crawling towards the severed head. So like they're hinting that Weapon 11 is actually still alive.
Well, you said that it's a different Stryker, so like it has to be a different setting.
So
If you're saying that Origins is within the events of Days of Future Past where the things have changed, then I can say that sucks. If it's not and it's completely changed the timeline, then they're in a different branch and therefore it's a different Deadpool.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's a different branch by the end. So at the start of Days of Future Past, technically there would be two Wades, but then they change it
Well,
and
well, no, there's no two Wades. You can't have two of the same like unless Wade went back in time.
mm,
You can't have two of the same character from the same timeline unless one goes back in time. So that's why when you see Nathan, if Nathan goes back in time as Cable and he sees himself as a baby, that's because he went back in time into that timeline.
mhm.
You can't have both of them, within the same time frame and then it splits. Um that's the whole point I'm getting across is that if you're saying it's a different Stryker that picked up Wolverine and created essentially a younger version of the Weapon X program. Then Weapon 11 happens later on, which is what we see in the Deadpool movie. So that's
Yeah,
why it's a later situation.
I think then when the time changes, there is no Weapon 11 then.
Right.
It
So
doesn't happen at all.
right. So that's no, well, no, Weapon 11 is Deadpool. Like it's still the same thing. It's just like a different setting. It's a different like it's done with Ajax.
Yeah, but it would he be called Weapon 11 though, because it's not technically
Tech
Stryker's program?
Right. Technically it wouldn't be, but
Yeah,
that's also like a technical thing,
yeah,
and that's how comics are, dude. So you're hitting the nail on the head. Like,
yeah,
yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no Weapon 11. It's just Deadpool.
yeah, yeah.
Um, which I always think is funny because Deadpool always wants to join the X-Men even though he's not a mutant.
Yeah.
It, it's so good. Like it's interesting stuff like this, man. And it does get a bit convoluted. It does get very confusing at times when you have all these different things like timelines, multiverses, and whatnot. But the way you do it, if you do it correctly, honestly, a multiverse or a timeline change and whatnot, it works well. When you watch Back to the Future Part One, isn't that so fun because like it's just that iteration and they go to back in time, they've changed a few things, and now he's in a new timeline where like things are for the better for him.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
No,
like
it is cool. It is cool. It's
yeah,
interesting. I just I think sometimes it's better to just trust the process sometimes, because I find if you try and overthink some things, you kind of you can get yourself lost in kind of, how does this happen or how does that make sense? And you kind of maybe sucks the fun out of it a little bit. So I kind of think sometimes it's maybe better to just trust the process and hope that they've done their research and just, you know, that they're actually, retconning things correctly, and
Right. And
that it works in the right way.
well, I agree with you, but you have to remember there, like, no matter where you go, you're always going to have some sweaty nerds.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're
Yeah,
gonna 100% fight you on that. And
yeah,
like, I'm not trying to say I'm fighting you on like the timeline thing. I just want to clarify, because that's what I assumed, is that if this Deadpool is in this universe, then he's a different Deadpool, but within the newly formed um universe with the X-Men, because as you've said before, things changed, but technically they didn't, because Wolverine went into like back into the kind of the present time where
yeah,
things are fine. And the only reason why Charles is aware of what's happened is because he's so smart and he already knows like shit like this has happened. um
yeah. I love that scene. I think it's, well, my understanding was that he reads Logan's mind and realizes that he has a different, like, it's a different Logan, like he can
mhm.
tell. And then it's like, oh, you're back, like, because he has that line, "Welcome back, friend," or something. And
Yeah.
then he's like, you've got a class to teach or something. And he's like, oh, I think I need I think I need my own history lesson. And he's like, yeah, yeah.
Well,
What's the last thing you remember? And then boom, it just ends. Like, that's such a great. I fucking love that movie, man.
the
It's
only
such a good
thing
movie.
the only thing Wolverine needs to teach is how to use the danger room. Like,
Yeah.
really, like, what is he gonna teach? Like, Canadian history?
Well, he'd be a good history teacher if he, like,
Yeah,
I
that's
suppose,
true.
if he didn't lose his memories. Like, I think
That's
when we
true.
first meet him, he's lost his memories, but I suppose that's only, yeah, I suppose, yeah, he's lost his memories. But is there a thing like where I'm forgetting some of the Fox movies, but is there a point where the Logan actually has his brain fully healed and he can remember everything?
That I'm not sure of.
Yeah,
Um,
because
I
maybe I'm thinking of X-Men Origins Wolverine, because I think when we first meet him, like, technically that's his first appearance in the timeline. At that point, he's lived for like maybe 100 years or so on, or maybe a little more, but
mhm,
he hasn't been shot in the head yet. He hasn't got the amnesia. So at that point, he is quite knowledgeable, and obviously he has all this life experience. But then obviously gets shot in the head and loses all his memories, and then he's kind of just a wild animal, like lost in the woods.
right.
Um, so yeah, but I think if there's probably comic versions of him, and even the version of him that we meet in Deadpool and Wolverine, he has that line where he's like, I've been alive for 200 years, and I've seen some shit. I've never seen somebody like you or whatever. Like, he's taking shots at Deadpool, but that, like, is such a great scene, because I really feel like when he's saying that line, it just really feels like that dude has lived for 200 years, and he does have like 200 years of memories and experience and life. And like someone like that, I think, would be a really good teacher. Because again, if
Mhm,
you could talk about all these world wars, you were fucking there. And as you know, he's probably been in the front lines fighting them. You know what I mean? It's like you're getting like on, like, like first person accounts for history. Like, that'd be obviously incredible.
right.
Talk
And yeah,
about Deadpool, sorry, just real quick.
sure.
Obviously, it officially became the number one rated R movie of all time in the box office. So congrats to the lads. They literally they did it. It's officially number one. I think it's probably going to still show. It's out of IMAX here, so I saw it again on Wednesday, and I think Thursday was the last showing of it before Alien Romulus took over the IMAX screens.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I got to see it one more time, so I have seen it twice now. Even better the second time. But yeah, fantastic fucking movie. I brought a friend of mine who he hasn't seen half of the MCU, and he didn't even see. I told him, watch Logan and watch Deadpool 2 before we go to see the movie, just to get the kind of best experience of it.
Mhm.
And I picked him up. I drove over to his house to pick him up for the movie. I was like, "What do you think of Logan?" He's like, "Oh man, I just didn't have the time to watch." He's got a young kid at home as well. He's like, "I just didn't have the time," and his missus doesn't watch any superhero shit or anything. So he's like, "I couldn't sit down with her to watch it, so I just didn't have the time." I was like, "Okay, so I'm gonna have to explain quite a lot to you." And he's like, he watched some YouTube video of like the history of Logan or something like that, like everything, like all the bullet points you need to before watching this movie, sort of thing. So shout out to whoever did that. I don't know who made that video, but he went in kind of knowing the source of stuff, but obviously, like, that movie, like, there's so many questions afterwards, like, especially for someone who isn't a sweaty like us. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't understand the Chris Evans, like, showing up as Johnny Storm stuff. I was like, that's from a movie in like 2005, and he's like, oh right, yeah, and obviously he knew Blade and stuff, but yeah, it's just, I find it interesting that, and I think this was a conversation I saw happening online during the week, but like some people were saying like, the movie itself is only really a fan servicey thing, and it's not like it's maybe a bit overhyped, and it's not as good if you're not really a fan. And I left a comment on the post, and I was like, to be honest, I said I went to this, I brought a mate of mine to the cinema to see it who probably hasn't seen half of the MCU, hasn't probably seen any of the Fox movies, and he fucking loved it. You know what I mean? Like we had a
Yeah.
barrel of laughs, and it was great. It was a fantastic experience. So I think the movie deserves all the hype, all the fucking reward that it's getting, and I think a rumor on the street as well is that they're potentially have a sequel in production, in like development now already, which is pretty
Like
sick.
another Deadpool?
Yeah, they're gonna do like another Deadpool and Wolverine movie, I think, like with Jackman and everything. So they're gonna literally continue on, because I think at the end of the movie when they're talking to the TVA guys, the TVA, the girl who was in the Loki series, I can't think of her name right now.
B-15.
Yeah, she says at the end, she's like, get some rest, guys. You're gonna be, we're gonna be needing you again very soon. Like they literally say that at the end of the movie. So I think they could just literally go into like a TVA inspired movie. Maybe we get like Loki showing up in that one. Like I even after watching it the second time, I'm kind of like, I'm so surprised. It was so like it's a very heavily inspired TVA film, and we didn't get Owen Wilson, we didn't get Loki, we didn't get, we got like a tiny bit of Chris Hemsworth, but we could have got a lot more. I understand obviously, Evans was there and stuff like that, and Blade and Wesley Snipe and all. And there's a couple of like little one-liners that I didn't hear the first time, and one of them being after he kills Johnny, and where Hugh Jackman turns to him, he's just like, "You just got the guy killed. What the fuck?" Wade turns to him and just goes, "Do you have any idea what he was doing to the budget?" And it's like, obviously they had to kill him and get him off screen because it was costing them too much money. But like, yeah, it's just absolutely hilarious. Like I didn't hear that line the first time. Like there was so many great little one-liners that I missed the first time around. I can't wait to fucking get the Steelbook, bro, and just watch it a few more times as well. Like I'm sure every watch you'll kind of get more as well. Because like there's times where you're laughing and you're not kind of hearing what they're saying next and stuff like that, Yeah, I'm so happy that the movie exists. It's such a massive win. And if they make a second one, I'm down. I think it would be great. Is it another $1 billion movie? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it is. Maybe it does better. I don't know. But I think they're onto a winner, and I will take what I can get. Give me more of them.
I guess. I don't know. It turns into a situation where as I'm listening to you, I'm like, can really hear that cow mooing right now. Probably needs a bit of a milking.
I just think as well, though, like again, the movie ends and the Fox universe is intact again, and I just, with the way everything is going, with like Doomsday and all this shit coming up, like it would have made a lot of sense for the movie to end and the Fox universe to be destroyed and the two guys to show up and they're the first two to arrive at Battleworld or something. Like that would have made sense. Or you get to see Loki at the end of time and he kind of gives a little smile as if like, he's happy that the lads are, doing good work or something. Like there could have been a couple of easy wins there to like, for, I know more crowd service, like is a bit ridiculous in that movie, full of crowd service, but I think they've left themselves open to potentially do another movie to get them to Battleworld now. Because I had originally thought that was what was going to happen. Like we were going to see the two of that, like this was going to set up where the MCU was going, but it kind of doesn't at the end. Kind of weird.
I'm okay with that.
I am too, but I just didn't expect that to happen. I was expecting that I was kind of going to know where the story was going. Like because we see it almost up until the last minute of the movie, like we see the world, the universe start getting shredded. It's turned into spaghetti, and you're kind of just thinking like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. The guys are just gonna do a strange ring or the MCU Sparkle ring or whatever they call it. They're gonna do a Sparkle ring to the 616 or something like that, and then that's it. They just sit in the 616 and wait for Secret Wars happen. Yeah.
Like, do we know that these sling rings can cross between universes besides in Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I would have said no. I would have said no before this movie, but maybe they can. I don't know. I didn't think Cable's tech could jump between universes. Apparently, it can. So
it jumped between time frames, as far as I knew, and So like it's so weird.
So we had this conversation, remember, during one of the podcasts a couple of weeks ago, and I the way I see it is that it did do a multiverse hop, and I brought this up in the Den of Nerds stream, and he said that yeah, it can multiverse hop. I was like, okay, and I was like, I'm not happy with it,
Uh,
but if they want to cop it out and say, okay, yeah, it can multiverse hop, fair enough. But I thought it was just a time travel device, nothing more.
it was okay. So I looked it up. It was upgraded to multiverse hop.
Gotcha. Who upgraded
So
it? Does it say?
at the end, when they tweaked it and fixed it.
Oh, okay. So when the two girls are working on it at the end,
Yeah,
it
that's
okay.
yeah. So
Oh,
that's what I was trying to tell you.
yeah.
Like
Right.
it
Okay.
was, yeah. It wasn't that it could always do it.
Okay. Well, I didn't think that the two of them could turn that into a multiverse hopping device, but I'll take it.
What's her name? Yuki. Like she's
Yeah.
super smart.
Yeah. I just didn't think that they would have the capabilities to do that. But that makes sense. That makes sense now. I'm kind of happy with that. That's fine. Did you have anything you want to bring up?
I mean, there was an announcement not too long ago for those of you who are anime watchers. They did announce that there will be a movie for Attack on Titan regarding
Cool.
the final chapter, the last two parts of it. Because they probably want to like show that up as a mashed, like full on movie because it's long enough to be such. And rightly so. I think it'll fit well, especially for the way it ends and the way things came out. And if you haven't seen it yet, Finto, I highly recommend it.
It's been recommended to me a fair few times. It is definitely, it's a show that I wouldn't mind checking out. I do want to finish Jujutsu Kaisen before I move on to something else, and I kind of got sidetracked on it for a bit. I'm gonna try and pick it back up tomorrow. Yeah, I was kind of just, I don't know. I was not that I wasn't liking it. It just got a little slow paced, in a bit where I'm at, and I'm kind of just. I think I'd spoke to somebody about it before, and they were saying like, "Oh no, you're not at the really good shit yet." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll go back to it then," because I was kind of I was. Sorry, go on.
What episode did you leave off on?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I think it's.
Do you know the number?
Might be around episode 18, in and around there.
Oh yeah, you're about to get there. Oh my god, you stopped right before I got good.
Yeah, so
like, right again, I got really good.
I was enjoying it at the start, and I thought it was a really cool, like, concept, cool idea for a show. But then it just kind of got a little bit repetitive. And then when they brought in the two schools, well, like again, it was just like every episode they were just coming up against a cursed object or a cursed person, and they would have like a little bit of a fight. It just kind of felt like I was watching the same thing over and over again, but like the curses were changing a slight bit. The story didn't really feel like it was madly developing. But then,
holy shit, it's developing. What?
I'm just saying. Look, I don't attack me on this, but
I'm not attacking you. I'm just no, I'm not attacking you. You're attacking me. I'm taken aback by this.
I try to think where I finished off. So the two schools, like, do they have some sort of like a school on school kind of competition or whatever? Don't ask me the names of any of these things, but I think like they have like the Tokyo school is got a fight in their school or something.
The Tokyo school is going up against the Kyoto school.
Yeah. So that's kind of in and around where I am right now, and it's okay. It's fine. I like the big buff dude. What's his name? He's like a third year. He becomes friends with the main dude, and he's teaching him all these new techniques and stuff. I like him. He's a cool. Yeah, he's cool.
Dude, you didn't give a shit about Junpei?
Who's that again?
The kid that Yuji walks into because they thought that he was a curse user.
This is the kid who's being manipulated by one of the curses?
Mahito?
Yeah, he's okay.
You didn't like the fight between like Mahito and Yuji and fucking Nanami? You didn't like I'm on overtime now? You're insane, dude. You are insane. Holy shit.
It's not blowing me away. Like I'm just
I can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
God damn.
It's just not hitting me. It's not hitting me like Demon Slayer did. Demon Slayer hit me a lot harder, I think.
Fuck.
Yeah, sorry, bro. I'm not really a big anime
disappointed,
head.
man.
Like I'm trying to get into it, but
No, I
I'm not
gotcha.
a big anime. I'm not a big anime head. So maybe I'll take a shining to it as I develop into a more of an anime person. I really don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you don't have too many Marvel shows and DC shows going on, and things aren't really looking up on the on the positive, there's so many different animes that like will catch your eye and really keep you going.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of sit right now. There's a lot of animes that pop up. I'm not telling you to watch every single one that I offer to you. There's some that I haven't even watched yet that some people have recommended to me. Um,
Yeah.
it just takes time, man.
Oh, it seems
Y-
like it's a huge fucking category. Like, there's like I again because I watch some stuff on Netflix now, like I get suggested a lot of anime and just like the sheer amount of it, like the anime category on Netflix alone is gigantic. Like, and I can only imagine what it's like floating around on like Crunchyroll and all these places. Like, it's like I'd say it's just overwhelming with the amount of different stuff.
yeah, and it's there's something for everyone. And
Yeah.
Demon Slayer hits you. I don't know what else could. I don't know anything that would be Demon Slayer esque, but it's not going to be as good as Demon Slayer because it's doing well. It's got good animations. The story is fun. All the characters are likable. Even the villains are likable.
Yeah. What's that? Do you watch that show My Hero Academia or something? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah.
Like,
I read the manga too. I finished it.
and do you highly rate that show?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I would recommend it. If you're thinking about starting it, then I would say yeah, go for it. By the time you've reached the end of it, it'll probably be done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I like
that's cool.
yeah, if you really like superhero stuff, that would be your jam. There are some cases where you might have the same kind of reactions as most people have, where they don't like the main character for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Um, but all in all, I really like the story. I think that the way that it ended was a bit rushed, but I'm not sure why. But I mean the way it ends too, it kind of leaves it open for like other possibilities. And some people, because they're so infatuated with the fact that like some characters should have relationships, that they
Mhm.
see that in certain cases, like they took a look from a panel, from the last panel showing all the different heroes, and they had one of the characters like with their arm behind a female character, and they were like literally like mapping out a silhouette thinking that his hand was on her ass, and it's like, no, you idiot. At what point are these two characters even interested in each other?
Jesus Christ.
It's because they wanted to ship someone, because literally at the end there was no one to ship. There was no one
Mhm.
that was essentially getting their own relationship. And I think that's what happens when it comes to superhero shows and superhero movies, is like, why don't these two have a relationship? Why don't these two have some sort of
Yeah,
fling?
yeah,
Because it is fun. It is fun to kind of think that maybe they'll get together, maybe they'll have this, or maybe they'll have that. That's what X-Men is for. That's
yeah,
exactly what X-Men is for. X-Men are horny on main. They're literally all over each other.
yeah.
It,
Like that'd be the real world, I suppose, wouldn't it? Like, you put a big group of people together, like they're gonna start fucking. Like, it's just the way it is.
Cyclops Cyclops is owning all that telekinetic ass. Like
Yeah, yeah, I've
like
heard.
going after Emma Frost, Psylocke, Jean Grey, anybody that has a brain that can read minds, like they're on him.
Love it, love it. Did you see the Borderlands movie? Actually, this might be one of the last topics of the night. Maybe
No, I'm not paying for that.
I
I'm not.
that's anybody that I talk to, it's the exact same answer, bro. It's like I'll watch it, but I'm not paying for it.
Right.
Like, it's insane how bad this movie is being taken.
Because they didn't care about like the story. Like, even then, even if you were to play the game itself, the story's not like entirely credible. Like Borderlands 2 is fun and it has story, but it's not like, oh my god, this story leads so well into the next parts of things, or oh my
Yeah,
god, the story flows so well into. No, it really is just that the main villain of 2 was a really good villain because he was
Yeah.
fun, and yet like you kind of hated him, but at the same time you really liked him. It's
Yeah. Yeah, like I enjoyed those games a lot. We played the games together. It's one of the only games that the two of us have actually played together, which was
yeah.
great. But again, I would I if I went in to watch the movie now, I would probably go, oh yeah, I remember that from the game. I remember this from the game. I don't remember a terrible amount of the story of the games. You know what I mean? Like I don't like the games aren't like the story's not that profound that it's like something that stays with you. You know what I mean? Um, but the world is cool. So that's why I was kind of hoping that the movie was going to be good because I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine, that's fine. You know, I think like seeing a lot of this in live action might be really fucking cool. Like, you know, the way they've done The Last of Us, the way they've done Fallout, all this sort of stuff. Like, you know, it can be done right. And I kind of hoped that this would fall into that category and not go into like the Resident Evil category where it's miss, you know. But like looking at the fucking the budget for the movie was like 115 million, and in the opening week, in week one, they made $9 million globally,
hmm
which is just bananas, like terrible. And I'm looking at it now at the end of like weekend two, and it's at 18 million worldwide.
It's not
That's
making its money back
it.
until it reaches the shelves.
I even then, bro, even then,
No,
I think it's good. Yeah, that's it. It'll be a movie that will go up on a streaming service, and then I think over time it'll make money on the stream. I don't know how the whole. I don't know how the distributors and all that stuff. I don't know how the streaming money works, but I presume every play earns them something. You know, whether it's like a cent a play or something, or like even less. But I'd say they will accumulate money if it goes up on like Amazon, for example. You know, it'll go straight to number one on Amazon because everyone will want to watch it to see why it was so bad. And I'd say a lot of people will probably go, geez, that wasn't too bad. Are they going to turn around and buy it on Blu-ray or hard, like, you know, a steel book of it or something? Probably not. Are they going to pick it up digitally? If it stays on Amazon, why would you? It's still on Amazon. Like, you're not going to buy it digitally if you're paying for if you're paying for Amazon. If it goes up on Netflix or something, you know what I mean. You're not going to buy it, like, realistically. But of course, there's going to be a few hardcore sweaties that will pick it up on steelbook because they're big, massive fans of the games. I've even seen like it's obviously not even released yet on steelbook, and the steelbook is already being discounted, which is
hmm
it's scary,
it's
bro.
well,
Scary.
like they had nothing, dude. Like they keep putting these, they keep putting the, like I told you just a moment ago. They keep putting these actors that they think are so beloved by the community that they're just going to get away with it.
Yeah, like
Like,
Kevin Hart is Roland.
which like makes no fucking sense. Roland is the most serious fucking character we've ever seen. Like he has his moments here and there, but
Yeah,
like you put Kevin Hart in it, the guy who's going to make fun of everything.
yeah, and apparently, like he does make the role quite comedic. And I was reading a good few reviews. A lot of people were saying like it just didn't feel like it worked. Some people were like, ah, it actually was surprisingly okay, and he did quite good as Roland. But obviously, it's different to what people were expecting. Some people seem to kind of cut it a bit of slack, but a lot of people were just saying no, it didn't work. One of the biggest critiques I saw was like Kate Blanchett. She felt like really bored in the role of Lilith, and she felt like too old as well. Like I don't know why they cast her. Like, you know, like not to kind of throw shade on her or anything, but like she's in her mid
No,
50s.
throw shade. This is not an old character. This is a young character.
That's what I always thought when I was playing the
Yeah.
games. That Lilith was like maybe someone in her 30s or late 20s or something, or you know, even mid to late 30s, whatever. But like Kate Blanchett's like pushing 60, and she looks old. You know, I thought they did a great job of making her look young in Ragnarok. Like she looked like incredible in that movie. Like she was like very, very attractive looking in that film, and she looked young. And like I didn't even know it was Kate Blanchett at the time when I first saw that trailer. I was like, wow, what the fuck? Who's this? And I remember my missus saying like, what age do you think she is? I was like, well, I don't know. She's like 50. I was like, wow, what the fuck? Couldn't believe it. But she looks old in this movie, and apparently she looks bored in the movie as well. And same with like, what's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis and stuff. Like she just I just they don't feel
Again,
like they even want to be there.
again, another young character that like has a quirk about her. You know, it just like it doesn't fit, especially for Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, I don't think I've seen her in very many roles that are like, oh my god, that's so fun. We saw her in the fucking Bear, and it was so goddamn serious. It's like you take the Bear, and then you do this. What?
It's weird. Yeah, it was a weird move. And then I don't know if you saw, she put out some tweet or something talking shit about the MCU and saying it was boring or something and saying it was shit. And then like people are just like, you had the audacity to call the MCU shit, and now you've put out this bullshit movie, and it's like doing 9 million in the box office. Like she literally had to retract what she said and apologize to Kevin Feige and stuff.
Dude, you know why? You know why they cast Ariana Greenblatt as fucking like Tiny Tina? It's because she did Sasha in fucking Barbie.
Yeah, and she was Ahsoka, and she was young Gamora. Like, she's done some really good shit.
She's done young actors shit.
Yeah, but like, isn't Tina young as well?
Yeah, but like this actress doesn't give me the vibe of like she's gonna be funny at all. Like nothing. Like she wasn't funny in Barbie. She was a fucking asshole.
True. Borderlands being ass isn't her fault. True, but don't throw rocks in a glass house, as they say. If you're putting out bullshit in the box office and like going down as one of like the biggest flops of all time, maybe keep the MCU out of your mouth.
Yeah, I mean? And she could stay the fuck out of One Piece season 2 now. She's not my doctor.
Is she meant to be in it?
No, I hope not. I hope not anymore. Everyone's like, "Ooh, Dr. Kuroha, Dr. Kuroha," and I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting." And then I see this Borderlands shit, and I'm like, "No, get the fuck out of here."
Yeah, because like she's going from that now. She's doing like Freaky Friday 2 with Lindsay Lohan. Like it's like that's probably not going to be a great movie either.
It's got to be such a bomb.
Yeah, she's had a bit of a bad streak right now.
I mean, as far as I know, the only thing I knew her from was like Laurie Strug, The Bear. There were some movies I think that I've seen her in that were pretty decent, but other than that, it's like you're not really having like a strong streak for me right now, and you're making it a little bit worse.
Did you see that movie? What was it called? Everything Everywhere All at Once.
She was fantastic in that.
Yeah, holy shit! Really that was like kind of the Bear kind of vibes I was getting off her in that one as well.
She's not funny. She's not, she's good at being a strong and serious character. Like she was getting True Lies. Yeah,
true.
And they saw her in Freaky Friday, and they're like, "Yep, that's her. So funny. Let's do it."
Sold.
Yeah.
They officially. This might be the last thing I bring up because I do want to go to bed soon. It's midnight here.
No, you got to stay up with me, sir.
I can't, bro. I can't. But I heard they officially canceled the Eternals, so they were going to do a sequel, Eternals 2, and they've officially canceled it now.
Good.
I'm kind of sad because there's a few like characters that I thought were pretty cool. I like the speedster girl, and it'd be cool to maybe see like Angelina Jolie show up somewhere again in the MCU, and Icarus as well. I thought he was really cool. So the fact that they're saying that the movie's cancelled, that I suppose technically doesn't mean that the characters are dead. Like they don't I think you could potentially bring a few of them into other projects down the line. That would work for me anyway.
Again, they wrote themselves into a corner. They made these different like aspects of these characters and just decided this is what it's going to be. And it's like, why do you call it the 616 then? Like, stop. Like, seriously. And did you see that they're making the Celestial? Now the Celestial is made of adamantium.
That's how, that's been a rumor for a while that's how they're going to get adamantium into the MCU.
Fucking God, I don't even remember how adamantium is done, but I just
because again they in the Fox universe they never I don't think they ever explained where it came from. They just found it in the earth, right? That's like Stryker's mission when they're in like Africa and stuff. They're just like we're searching for a metal, and it's mined. It's found in the earth.
Well, the thing is, from what I'm reading, and now it's starting to make like it's kind of coming back. Essentially, like adamantium is like kind of man-made. It's kind of replicated from vibranium, which is why it has like such it has different properties, but it's kind of in the same category as like an indestructible metal.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's just, that's fine. Like it didn't come from from aliens.
I kind of like the idea of it being alien though. That's kind of cool to me.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because if you think about it, didn't vibranium come from space too?
Everything comes from space. That's how you do a dumb, lazy like explanation.
Yeah, that's cool though. Venom.
You know what I find
vibranium.
dumb and lazy is that we came from space.
Well, everything's from space, I suppose.
Exactly. I think it's dumb and lazy.
I think I'm gonna call it there for the week, dude.
Okay.
Are you around next week?
Yeah, I think I'm still I'm on call, I think the following week.
Okay, cool. Look, I think there's going to be a couple of episodes where we just kind of go off the cuff, but keep your ear to the ground if you get any news. Anyone in the chat listening, if you want to leave us some recommendations what to talk about next in the comments below, fire ahead. But yeah, we'll chat to you next week. See you later, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Have a good one.
Bye.